Welcome back. This is Life Habit Week 2. Let's get started. Before I give you your life habit for the week, I want to take you through Weight Loss 101. I want you to really understand how your body loses weight and how it gains weight. And it's pretty simple. What happens is your body looks at how much food you eat in the form of calories. And so let's use an example. Let's say that you eat 1,500 calories in one day. From morning until bedtime, 1,500 calories go in your body in the form of food. Okay, so what happens next is let's pretend that your body burns 1,500 calories. So when we're moving, when we're exercising, when we're actually just sitting here, you're burning calories 24 hours a day. We just happen to burn more calories when we are more active. But your body burns calories all day long. Everybody's body does this. And so when you burn calories, then it uses those calories that you ate. And so what happens in this example is you have 1,500 calories that go in your body in the form of food and 1,500 calories that's burned off in the form of energy. And so when those two are equivalent to each other, 1,500 and 1,500, then that's when we have weight maintenance, which means that your body stays the same. It doesn't lose weight and it doesn't gain weight. It stays exactly the same. But in this example, I'm going to show you something different. Let's say that we still ate the same 1,500 calories, but our body burned more calories for the day. So let's say instead of burning 1,500 calories, we burned 1,800 calories in the form of energy. So we burned off 1,800 calories. So what happens now is our body is basically in a 300 calorie deficit. So we burned more than we ate. So our body goes, okay, where am I going to get 300 calories for the energy that I need? And that's when it goes into body fat storage, and that's why we have what's called weight loss. Okay, so then moving on to the next example, the opposite example here would be if somebody was to eat 1,500 calories but only burn 1,200 calories. Well, what that means is we have 300 extra calories in our body of food that our body didn't burn off. And because that extra 300 calories is just floating around, it goes to the storage unit, which is in the form of body fat. So that's where we get weight gain. So really, extra body fat is just extra calories that did not get used up or burned up. Okay? So let's move on to your life habit, keeping in mind your little weight loss lesson there. And we'll move through this. I think you'll find this really fascinating. This life habit is for sure one of the most important of all the Commit to Fit habits. And that's why we wanted to introduce it to you early so you could carry this through the whole program. So what you're going to do is you're going to eat a small meal every 2 to 3 hours. And when we say small meal, what we're talking about here is to have you eat 300 calories every 2 to 3 hours. You're not going to count calories. That's just a total estimate, somewhere around there. But it's about a fist and a half full of food if you want to look at it that way. That's kind of an easier way to look at it. Now on this screen, you might want to pause the video and write this down because these are examples of 200 to 300 calories. We just put this up here so that you could get ideas of basically some different foods to eat, because when you're eating more often, you have to come up with more food to eat. So go ahead and pause the video and write these down. Okay, here's an example of your day. Let's see what this looks like. Let's say that at 7 in the morning you eat your first meal, and then 10 a.m., because that's 3 hours later, you have your second one. And then about noon, maybe between noon and 12:30, you have your third meal. And then 3 p.m. you eat again, 6 p.m. you eat again, and you might eat again at 8 o'clock. Okay, so that's 6 times right there. Now, what we're going to point out here is that for females, this 6th meal is really optional. If you're working out hard, so you have a really hard exercise routine, you're probably going to want that 6th meal. But if you're not working out or you're working out very, very lightly, then you probably don't need that 6th meal. Okay, so I want to point out here that when you're eating your food, your vegetables are quote unquote free. What that means is they don't count as part of your fist and a half portion size, okay? So if you were going to have chicken breast and a side of rice, maybe a half a cup of rice, and then you had a big salad with it, that salad doesn't count in your portion size or in your calories. Now sauces, on the other hand, you want to you really want to look at that. You want to look at dressings and you want to look at oil and that kind of thing. Now, can you have dressing and olive oil in that? Of course you can, but in very, very minimal amounts because the fat is usually pretty high. Now, if you do dressings, really beware of the fat-free version and actually look at the amount of sugar that's in there, because some of the fat-free versions are really high in sugar, because let's face it, they have to make it taste good somehow. So it's either fat or sugar. So if they take the fat totally out, usually it has a lot of sugar in it. So sometimes if you just pick something light, middle of the road, and do a tablespoon, you'll be fine. Okay. Also, I want to point out here, a lot of you are drinking Spark. Actually, I think everybody's drinking Spark, and that's a quote-unquote free food. What that means is you can just input Spark anywhere in your day, and it doesn't count as one of your little tiny meals here. Okay, so a little caution symbol coming up. There's your juice, or it could be alcohol. Either way you want to look at that. And what I thought I would do here is point out what that first meal is probably going to look like for you. Is most of you are drinking the meal replacement shake in the morning. I would really, really recommend that that's the first thing that you eat for your first meal to burn the most body fat. And then second up is your breakfast bar or some form of protein bar that you've purchased through Advocare, through your package. That morning meal, that would be a great way to make sure that you get your 2 meals in. Now, one thing I can tell you is that a lot of times the reason people go a long time without eating is because usually in the morning is when we're active, we're working, we're doing things, and we forget to eat. And so I would say really pay attention this week to your first and your second meal, and being, just deliberately eating that mid-morning meal. You might even have to put an alarm on your watch or some sort of signal to say, oh wait, stop, it's time to eat, because it's very easy to forget that mid-morning time to eat. Okay? And then what happens is if we miss that mid-morning meal at 10 a.m., or it could be 9 a.m. for you, or it could be, 11, somewhere around there, whatever that time is for you between breakfast and lunch. If you miss that meal, what happens is about 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, around there, we get so hungry that there's no way we can keep that portion size down to a fist and a half of food. We end up overeating because we're over hungry. So just remember that 10 a.m., that mid-morning meal is very, very important to make sure you get that to keep your day on track. Okay, so what does one day look like here? Well, I'm going to put up a chart so you can kind of see where we're headed and what the overall picture looks like here. Okay, so this is ideal. I'm going to show you what you're aiming for. So there's 300 calories there on the left. You woke up, you ate a little meal. That's the little yellow bubble that came up. 9 a.m. in the morning, 10 a.m., somewhere around there, mid-morning, you eat another 300 calories. Then your lunchtime comes along, you eat another 300, and so on and so forth through your meals. Okay, so that is really what you're aiming for. And what happens is across the board, you see that yellow line, that is an even amount of calories all through the day. Your body loves this. And this is where you get that even energy and not the crashing and the ups and the downs all day long. This is also what really controls your appetite very well, is when you get that even flow, because your blood sugar is evened out throughout the day. This is actually how diabetics are supposed to eat as well. Okay, but in the green coming up here, I'm going to show you what's a typical American way to eat. In the morning, we woke up, we didn't have anything to eat, maybe coffee, maybe toast. I don't even really count toast as breakfast because it's not enough. Doesn't have protein in it. And so we just skip that morning breakfast, and at 9 a.m. we eat a little something, maybe, a latte on the way to work or something like that. Has a little bit of milk in it, and so that's a little tiny bit of calories. Actually, if you go and get a frappuccino or something like that, it's not going to be a little bit of calories, it's going to be a lot. But that's a whole nother subject. But anyway, there's your lunch. You eat a little something for lunch at your desk or whatever, and then 3 p.m. comes along, you might nibble on something around the office, and then you get home and dinner comes and you're hungry because you have not had enough calories during the day. And so anybody would overeat at dinner in this scenario, and this is what has been causing a lot of problems. And then 8 o'clock rolls around, you just had dinner, but you can't believe it. You're physically full because you had such a big dinner, but you're thinking, I'm not satisfied. Something in me wants to keep eating. This right here, look at this green and how this all works out. And of course, that last bubble popped up there on the green because a lot of people have to continue to eat all the way up through midnight to make up for all the hunger that they feel. But what happens is this swerve, this red curvy, is how we feel during the day, and it's our blood sugar is going up and down, the calories are extremely uneven, and that produces an effect that we're not looking for. And so what happens here is, you look at the one that's ideal, that's about 1,800 calories a day. That'd be a great thing to shoot for. For the one that goes up and down, because we ate so much the later half of the day, we most likely had way more calories than if we just had eaten an even amount throughout the day. So you look at that, that's an example, about 2,600 calories. Don't worry about the numbers. Just the point here is that when we skip meals during the day, we end up eating way more at night. So when it's all said and done, we're in surplus of calories. Remember the weight loss 101 slide? When you have too many calories in and not enough burning, that's when we have that weight gain. Okay, I'm going to show you the sumo wrestler diet. I have a feeling that there's not one person listening to this, watching this video, that says, I want to look like a sumo wrestler. But let me show you what a sumo wrestler looks like and why. Okay, they sleep all night long. They wake up in the morning, going along here like a timeline. They do the little tiny eating during the day, or maybe none at all, and then they eat the majority of their calories at night. That is how sumo wrestlers on purpose gain body fat, because it produces an enzyme in our body that takes our food and pulls it to fat rather than to burning it. 20 hours of very low calories is the fasting stage, okay? That fasting is what causes the enzymes to be raised up, the enzymes that want to produce body fat. And then we have 4 hours of very high calories, and that's the binging period. Okay, so this is how, if we wanted to look like a sumo wrestler and we wanted to do it on purpose, this is what we would do. So those of you that are on the sumo wrestler diet right now, and you didn't realize that that's what you were doing, this is so good that you're part of Commit to Fit, because we're going to get rid of all that. So that, like I said, that fasting raises the fat-producing enzymes. That's what we call the starvation response. And your body says, I am going to take every calorie and I'm going to take it to body fat because you keep doing this long period of fasting to me. Okay, so the starvation response, really interesting. There was a study done between two groups of rats. So there's group A on the left and group B on the right. And what they did is they took the same amount of food and fed it to each group, okay? So you can see on the left-hand side there's meal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So they had 5 or 6 meals that were in even portion sizes in every single meal. So they took the entire amount of food and split it evenly through those meals. Group B, what they did is they took these meals and they grouped it up in 2 groups, okay? So what I really want you to see here is that each group, they're eating the same amount of calories. They're eating the same amount of food. One side is just doing it in smaller portion sizes more often. Group B is doing this in 2 large meals. It's the same amount of calories for the day, okay? What they found after 6 weeks, the fat-producing enzymes doubled in Group B rats. And here's what happened. You see over there on Group B, those rats got bigger. They produced body fat. Well, here's the good news. After taking Group B back, they went back to the 5 or 6 small meals. The fat-producing enzymes went back to normal after 90 days. Okay, and the Group A rats were able to stay lean the whole time. So my point is that you want to take your meals and you want to spread them out into smaller increments. This is really the foundation of life habit number 2. Okay, so how do you keep your metabolism burning high all day? This is a great visual for you. It's the same way you keep a fire burning, okay? So what you're going to be doing here is you're going to be thinking about your body like a fire. And here's these logs coming down. These are actually supposed to be twigs, but they're coming down on the fire, and they're keeping the fire all hot and burning. And basically all that means is that your body gets to be hot all day. What happens when you take a big old log and slam it on the fire? Well, and then you don't feed it any more twigs later, the fire goes out. So think of your meals like little twigs on the fire going through the fire all day long to keep it going. So how are we going to make this happen? Well, we need to plan ahead. We need to write out a meal plan for the week. This can be the most challenging because it takes a little bit of time to plan ahead. But this is where it's just really important, because you don't want to wake up in the morning, run out of the house with nothing to eat, and then get to work and go, okay, wait, what am I going to eat? Oh gosh, I'm supposed to be eating right now. Well, and you don't want to run to the vending machine, because that's going to sabotage our efforts here. So we want to make sure that we plan ahead, get some meals in our mind. Go back to that list that we had a few slides back. Number 2, you want to make a grocery list and stock up on exactly what you need. Feed your family this way too. This is a great way to keep everybody fit and the energy level up. If you're going to work, pack your meals. That'll save you a lot of money too. And then eat within 1 hour of waking up. That first meal, which is your shake, needs to be in your body within an hour of waking up so that you can fit all of your food in. And then plus it'll enhance your fat burning results when you eat that early in the morning. Some people I know get up very early, maybe 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and they say, okay, eat at, 9 or 10. That is way too long because you're continuing to fast when you wake up. So you want to break that fast in the morning by eating your shake within an hour of waking up. Okay, and then finally, at first, you might have to eat by the clock to break old habits, especially during the first half of the day. And we talked about that a little bit ago. So here's your point rules. Number 1, eat at least 5 small meals to get your point, okay? And then space your meals 2 to 3 hours apart. And then number 3, eat no more than 1.5 to 2 fifths of food at each meal. So that's how you get your point, okay? Now you don't get a point if you go longer than 3 hours between meals. So if you wait longer than 3 hours, then you're letting your point go. Number 2, eat sooner than 2 hours after your last meal. So let's say that you eat at 7 in the morning, then again at 8 in the morning. Well, you lost your point because those meals were too close together. And then number 3, eat less than 5 meals. Let's say you only ate 3 times for the day. Then you don't get a point. Number 4, if you eat more than 1.5 to 2 fifths full of food, then you're overeating. Now remember, the veggies do not count as part of that serving size. So if you eat